The school's head teacher told the BBC that the freed students were looking unhealthy, frail, and exhausted. The school authorities and parents had managed to raise thousands of dollars to pay a ransom for the release of the students, selling part of the school's land and family possessions. School officials say a number of motorbikes were also delivered to the gunmen as part of the deal.
BBC News. The Ugandan military says it has foiled a suicide bomb attack at the state funeral of a top military commander who led an African Union offensive against Islamist militants in Somalia. A spokeswoman said a man was arrested in the northern town of Padere with an assortment of bomb-making materials on the eve of the funeral for Major General Paul Lekech. The former Prime Minister and Minister of Defence of Mali has been arrested after being accused of corruption in connection with the purchase of a presidential plane when Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta was in power. Soumelu Boubé Maïga is seen as a possible candidate in next year's elections, which are due to see a return to civilian rule in Mali. The Chinese actress Zhang Shuai has been fined $46 million for tax evasion as Beijing continues its campaign against what it describes as a chaotic celebrity fan culture. Michael Bristow reports.
The tax authorities said Zhang Shuai had failed to declare her full income for a TV series she's been filming called A Chinese Ghost Story. In a move that shows the Chinese state's enormous power over its citizens, producers have also been told not to hire the actress in future. Officials ordered the drama not to be broadcast. China has just announced an attack on celebrity culture in general, including a ban on popularity lists. There'll be closer control of fan groups and internet sites that the authorities believe spread gossip and provoke trouble.
A far-right Italian politician has resigned after suggesting a park in his hometown should be renamed after the fascist dictator Benito Mussolini's brother. The space in the city of Latina, 100 kilometres southeast of Rome, is currently dedicated to two magistrates killed by the mafia. Claudio Durigon of the League Party said he regretted giving the impression that the fight against the mafia was unimportant.
天天在一起，天天用心听，听见台北的声音。FM 93.1，幸福永远属于你。
公民总主笔，
方恩格时间。
谁当家？
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 你当家？
谁当家？
谁当家？谁当家？
谁当家？我当家。你当家？我当家。
我当家。
到底谁当家？你来当家。
Welcome to Residence Messenger on Taipei Broadcasting Station. I'm your host, Ross Darrell Feingold. Our guest today is military author, historian, expert on things having to do with Taiwan's modern military history in the post-World War II period, Samuel Hui. Sam, welcome to the show.
Hi, Ross. It's my first time on your show.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you. And one of the reasons why we're having you on the show today is recently there was an anniversary of an event known as the Bauer San Paojan, or the Second Taiwan Strait Crisis. Got into a lot of news attention because President Tsai didn't attend. We'll talk more about that later in the show. But before we talk more about Taiwan's modern military history, tell us a bit about yourself. Where were you born?
I was born in Dallas, Texas.
You were born in Dallas, Texas, but you didn't wear a cowboy hat today.
No, because I grew up in California, actually.
Okay.
That's very unique because, you know, I was born in one of the most conservative states. I grew up in one of the most liberal states. So that's very unique.
Yeah. Although actually there's a fairly large Taiwanese community, I believe, in Houston, not necessarily in Dallas, but parts of Texas have people from Taiwan.
Yes, of course. Yeah, but I'm more familiar with California because I was growing up in, I think, the San Gabriel Valley in South California, and also Orange County, Irvine. I graduated from UC Irvine as a student major in history.
Okay. So what sparked your interest in history when you were a child?
Like aviation history, military aviation, and as well as flying tigers. Like this year was the August 1st was the 80th anniversary of the flying tigers. So that's a very important and very crucial event for the security cooperation between Taiwan and the United States, because the Republic of China Air Force began its cooperation with the United States, because of Clary Channel and the Flying Tigers.
But when you were a child, was there a TV show or a movie or something in your family that caused you to become interested in history?
My grandfather, he served with the Chinese Air Force in World War II, and I heard some of his story from my family. And when I returned to United States for my junior high school, and when I go to some model store, I saw the model of P-40 fighters. I see they have the ROC emblem, the symbol of ROC on their wing, and also the shark mouth. So I began to study the history of the Chinese Air Force and the Flying Tigers. That's how I began my
your lifelong love affair with
and also
history.
If you mentioned the movie, I think Saving Private Ryan was the real first movie I watched when I was young.
That took place in a different theater of the war. Right? That was in Europe, not the Asia theater.
But anyway, I just began to dive into the history of World War II. I don't really care if it's Europe or Asia or China, because all the veterans in the United States, they are considered the greatest generation. And like I also consider many people like my grandfather, they fought side by side with American. They are also my greatest generation too. So that's why I really enjoy reading books and watch movie about World War II.
When you were studying history at UC Irvine, did you take classes about this topic, or were your classes more about other aspects of history?
Yeah, I did take some class about World War II, but I think I took the most. I think the professor I took was how he talked about the Chinese history, modern Chinese history. It inspired me much more than the World War II history class. One of my favorite professor was Jeffrey Wasserstrom. His Chinese name is Hua Zijian. He's pretty famous. He came to Taiwan or China very often, and he teach. I think I complete my thesis under his direction. So,
and what was your thesis?
I think I wrote about Mingxin Cafe Guan, that's a restaurant or coffee shop owned by those white Russian who followed Chiang Kai-shek to Taiwan in 1949. So they introduced many like Russian cake, Russian dessert, or Russian food to Taiwan. Yeah, maybe it's very very funny. I write a topic about this instead of war history. Yeah.
Did your professor? You mentioned one professor who was inspiring for you, but the stuff that you subsequently developed an expertise about, the military history of Taiwan and cooperation between the U.S. and Taiwan in the 1950s and the 60s and the 1970s. Did you find your professors knew a lot about that, or it's a kind of a part of history that doesn't get that much attention?
I don't think so. I don't think they really focus on military history. Like they know about the Battle of China, like in World War taking place in World War II and all the Civil War stuff, like Ranometer. There are many scholars in the West. They took their time to research about China's World War II history. But regarding to what happened after the Republic of China come to Taiwan, as a military development in Taiwan, I don't think there's too many scholars they focus on anything like that.
That's really interesting, because look, the United States did have a defense treaty.
Yes, the mutual
for 25 years.
Yeah.
There were Americans. There were a lot of Americans connected to the military who were living here in Taipei.
And some of them were even killed in Kinmen, in Quemoy, in doing the. I think that's in 1954, the first
Taiwan Strait Crisis.
Yes. So some of them even give their life to defend Taiwan. So I think it's very important to remember this aspect of the history. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
You've written a lot for military-focused publications here in Taiwan.
Yes.
You've written about military aviation. Help us understand what readers in Taiwan are interested in? Are they more interested in military aviation? They like magazines about military aviation? Or are they more interested in land forces kind of topics? What do the military fans in Taiwan like to read about?
I think most of them like airplane. They prefer Air Force because the Republic of China, in its history, it performed much better in the air than on the ground because most of the time they were defeated either by the Japanese or by the communists.
Are you allowed to say that? Is someone going to get mad at you from
maybe,
the army?
because it's from my family's background, but it's true actually. The Republic of China Air Force they rarely lost a battle. Mostly they got victory. So that's why I think many people in Taiwan they prefer to read Air Force, and also because they like the modern aircraft like F-35, F-22 from United States, and also they read about the communist China's like 歼20.
So there's a lot more publications about modern Air Force topics.
Yeah, modern Air Force topic, especially the tactical fighters, not a strategic missile. I don't think many people they like missile because
you got to have a technical understanding as well, right?
Yeah, they like F-16 because Taiwan and IDF. Mirage 2000 and many people they build model because I think most people they buy aircraft model instead of tank models.
Yeah, or in fact our studio, which is near the Huabo, the Yuanshan, we could just walk over to the park and watch the aircraft flying overhead as they land at Songshan Airport.
That's C-130. They usually they come and land here.
Yeah, I hear them all the time when I'm walking to host the show.
That's the location of Songzibu. Yes, the Songshan command. It's an Air Force command in Songshan. Yeah.
What's the role of video games? I mean, do video games cause people to become more interested in these topics or the history, or does it cause people to have less interest because they don't want to read magazine articles anymore? They just want to play video games. What's the effect of video games?
I think half and half. Because some of my friends they come to study military or to do some research on military history because they play Call of Duty like those games, the shooting game. Because some of them they took place in World War II or World War I or Vietnam War, so they will do some research or they will become more interested in that. And also there are some negative aspect because they think just like you say, we just play video game, we don't really care about those serious war history. That's not my business. And I think the most negative effect is that many people they consider killing people is just like playing video game. So as you can see the drone, all the drone right now, those people operating the drone, they say, oh, it's easy, we just bomb those people like video game.
That's not how real war is going to work. Right?
So that's why I think it's a. But of course, there are some good and bad things about what you say. They are always different. It depends on how you look at it.
But is the market for military magazines in Taiwan, is it sustainable? Is it healthy, or do the magazines survive? They struggle financially.
I don't think so. I don't think it's very good because I have, as I think I gave you some of copy of my magazine, the front lines. That's what I wrote. I think 5 issues, and then it's over because I don't think many people in Taiwan they actually read military stuff, and I think people in Taiwan they are very narrow mind, narrow view. They only care about maybe if they watch TV, they watch Korean pop, they watch the love stories, they like to watch, or they even watch some mainland Chinese drama movie, but they just don't really care about any movie about World War II. And many of them actually they even watch a movie from mainland China they made about China during World War II. Of course, they are all propaganda, and many of them are actually joke. They are not really serious history. They don't do serious research. As you can see, I think one of the jokes they say that they kill most of the Japanese soldiers in those movie studio. They kill much more than the real battle. They kill the Japanese in the real battle, the communist China. So they watch the movie, but they don't really do the serious research. And like people like me, I really do some work on history. Like when I see aircraft, I don't only see what types the aircraft is. I see their marking and their painting and how they. And what's their model? Like if you say like F-15, there's a difference between F-15 and C model, D model, and the E model. But I don't think many people they do that kind of research. They don't really do that in detail. So eventually I don't think they really want to buy. Most people in Taiwan, they don't really want to buy. They don't want to invest money to buy the magazine. And also there are too many military magazines in Taiwan. And people, they only will invest their money in maybe one or two of them, not all of them. So eventually many of them, they just go collapse, like the DTM and also my magazine. The DTM is one of the most famous military magazine in Taiwan. I think it was already there even when I was at elementary school. It was already there, but right now I think it was gone in 2017. It was just they just closed. They still have the internet version, but they don't have they don't have the hard copy anymore.
That's really amazing, because the more money, it seems like the more money that Taiwan is spending on weapons, the less people, from what you're saying, the less people are reading about it.
They just read, and also the internet. Because when you read internet, you don't need to spend that much money, and also the space. Right now, I'm donating many of my books, my collection, to the Air Force, because they take too much space in my house, and you will get trouble with your family. So I think it's better for me to donate it.
Let's go back to the end of the Second World War, and to set the tone or the history for the second Taiwan Strait crisis. Let's talk a little bit about the first Taiwan Strait crisis. The Japanese surrendered Formosa to the nationalist government in 1945 in October. How many troops came from China to Jinmen, Matsu, and Taiwan at the end of the war, or at the end of the Civil War?
I think 600,000, 60,000. About the 1945 when nationalists came, my grandfather was one of the Air Force officers who came to Taiwan to take over the 第三飞机制造厂, the third aircraft manufacturer factory from the Japanese. It is located in Suinan. So he was one of the witnesses of the history. And one of the story my mom told me is that he shot a Japanese POW, and I asked my mom, say why he shot him. My mom said because he just doesn't like the Japanese POW, because they all been through the rape of Nanking. They all witnessed the history. But my mom told me that he's very lucky, my grandfather, because that was a chaotic time. So there was no order and no law. So what the military did was just take over his pistol. So he was still, they locked him for 3 days.
3 days punishment for shooting the POW.
Yeah, so he's finished. He's
okay. And then did he get promoted after that?
No, he never. I think he was always how to say that?
Lieutenant colonel?
No, 中尉, lieutenant, first lieutenant for his entire life. Yeah. I think he joined the Air Force in 1944 and retired in 50 or 60, but he's always a first lieutenant. He never get promoted.
So, Jinmen, there was a battle at the end of the Civil War called the Battle of Guningtou.
Yes.
How come the nationalists won that battle?
I think the reason is the PLA, the People's Liberation Army of the Communist China. I think they were not used to the amphibious attack. They were more used to the line war, the land battle or ground battle. Because they didn't really have a navy. And they didn't really have Air Force at the time. And they were overconfident because they got victory all over China. So they think they will take over Kunming in a very short period of time. But they were wrong. And because they didn't really have a navy. So they mobilized the fishing boats around the China coast. Because they are overconfident, so they didn't really take enough soldiers, enough weapons. Instead, they take office desk because they think they are going to establish the government in Kunming very soon. And also, they don't really have a good luck because when they come to Jinmen, there was a wind blowing them to Guningtou. And when they arrived at Guningtou, there was a tank, a ROC army tank over there. I think it was broken during a exercise taking place earlier that day. So they were those tank crew. They spent some time to fix those problems. And when the time came, when the POA land, they found the POA and they began to shoot. And then when they shoot, they hit the ammunition spot of the fishing boat, so it exploded.
Then there was the first Taiwan Strait crisis in 1955, also known as the 九三炮战.
Yes.
And that also involved Jinmen.
Yes.
And that didn't work out as well for the nationalists because they kept Jinmen, but they lost a couple of other islands like Yijiangshan and Dacheng. Why did the nationalists lose those other islands?
I think the problem is that Yijiangshan and Dacheng, they're too far away from Taiwan. It's very hard for logistic consider for if you have to spend a lot of money and a lot of they're too far away. It's not easy to defend them from the communist China because they are over the coast of Zhejiang. They are very near to Zhejiang. But unlike Jinmen, Mazu, they are closer to Fujian. And Fujian and Taiwan are much more closer than Zhejiang. So it's very hard to supply the army in Yijiangshan and Dacheng.
But they weren't able to supply them, but they were able to evacuate a lot of troops.
Because the U.S. help with the help assistance from U.S. Navy, I think they launched a program called 金刚计划. The 7th Fleet, they help the ROC to evacuate all those people from Dacheng. But Yijiangshan was lost. But Dacheng was, I think most people in Dacheng, they are loyal to ROC, so they were able to be evacuated to Taiwan. I think only one old lady, she volunteered to stay in Dacheng, and the POA cannot do anything with her. She's an old lady. What are we going to do with her? And I think because of that, and also Chiang Kai-shek, he agreed to pull his troop out from Yijiangshan and Dacheng because he wants United States to sign the Sino-American Mutual Defense Treaty with him. So if he insists to keep Yijiangshan and Dacheng, maybe he won't get any guarantee from Eisenhower's administration. So that's why he decided to comply with the.
Let's step away from real history for a second and talk about alternative history.
Yes.
What would the future decades or today be like if Taiwan still controlled Yijiangshan and Dacheng?
It will be very hard to imagine because, as I said, they are very far away from Taiwan. But it will be easier for us to influence Zhejiang because right now we only have 2 islands, and if we have 4 islands, it will be more like just we will get how to say that, we will be able to claim we are still the legitimate government of China because we still control 3 provinces, the Taiwan province, Fujian province, and Zhejiang province. But I don't think it will make a big difference unless we take some counterattack against communist China and take over some real mainland China, not the offshore island. That's very big story. So I don't think there will be a very big difference even if we still control Dacheng and Yijiangshan. Yes.
One of the things that you often write about is the lives of soldiers.
Yes.
After maybe they fought either in the Civil War and came to Taiwan, or they fought in Jinmen, came to Taiwan. What about the people who came from Dacheng? What became of them after they come to Taiwan when they were evacuated, whether soldiers or civilians? What became of them?
We call them Dacheng Yibao, and I don't say how to say Yibao in compatriot. Dacheng compatriot, yeah. And Chiang Kai-shek, they made a lot of villages, especially I think dedicated for those Yibao. I don't know. I don't remember how many of those villages are there, but they are very die-hard KMT supporter. What I know about them,
even today.
But there are some of them become DPP, like Duan Yikang. He's one of those people. He's one of the he's descendant of one of the Dacheng Yibao who came to Taiwan. Yeah, there are some people who support DPP from that because for many reasons maybe they are very anti-communist, so they say maybe DPP is more anti-communist, so I joined them. But most of those people I got in touch with, they are very die-hard KMT supporter, even so they are very anti-communist. And what I know is that because I don't remember how many people they actually evacuated to Taiwan, but not too many people. Maybe 10,000, something like that, or 20,000, or Or 200. I don't really remember how many people they got evacuated to Thailand, but they all know each other. So whatever because if you are a writer, you write one story about the one of the Yibao, all the other Yibao will know about what he said in my interview. Yeah, I remember that. Sometimes they will complain. They will tell me, Sam, no, what he says is not true. What I say is true.
But they still want to argue about something that happened in 1955?
Yeah, they will. Yeah.
They want to argue about who got on the boat first? Or
Yeah, of course, something like that, yes.
What about people from Taipei or from Taiwan? Are they interested in this history? Or it's just so remote, it's got nothing to do with people in Taiwan?
I think they will, just like the story of, so there are also other people evacuated from Vietnam and Burma, or Myanmar. So they do make some, because their story, they really made some, they were even made into movies, like the Gujun, like those from Myanmar. They were made into the movie called Yi Yu.
Yeah, even I've seen that movie.
Yeah. So I think there are still people like to enjoy their movie, but not from military aspect, instead from just human story,
the love story,
or from the political story, from politics aspect, but not from military aspect.
We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll talk about the 823炮战 and things people could see to learn more about it. You're listening to Residence Messenger on Taipei Broadcasting Station.
Okay.
如有长照服务需求、长照特别扣除额问题，请拨打1966长照专线，5分钟内通话免付费。一通电话让长期照顾管理专员协助申请长期照顾服务及解答长期照顾特别扣除额相关问题。以上内容由台北市政府卫生局提供。
国防部办理民国110年全民国防教育网际网络有奖征答活动，活动从9月1号8点开始到10月1号下午5点为止。参赛者全部答对就可以参加抽奖，奖品内容丰富，有电动折叠滑板车、iPad Air 平板电脑、任天堂 Switch 健身组等等的大奖，共计有808位名额，欢迎民众踊跃参加。 详情请到国防部政战资讯服务网查询。以上内容由国防部提供。
台北市政府为了因应严重特殊传染性疫情影响，减轻台北市市民跟商家的负担，如果有承租台北市市有不动产作为营业使用者，从110年8月1号起到110年10月31号止，租金减收 50%； 如果承租市有不动产作为住宅使用，租金减收 20%； 如果有停业事实者，免收租金，也可以申请延期缴交租金，最长12个月。另外，台北市政府提供促餐 ROT 及 OT 符合一定条件者，可以延长契约，并且从110年8月1号起实施3个月。台北市政府希望和民众一起渡过难关。以上内容由台北市政府财政局公产管理科提供。
亲爱的朋友，您还在吸烟吗？快拿着健保卡到戒烟门诊或拨打戒烟专线0800636363。提醒您，最近兴起的电子烟、加热烟，因为没有浓浓的烟臭味，就被认为无害。其实已经证实，新兴烟品都有二手烟及三手烟的危害，甚至还有爆炸的风险。我是义工蔡依林，所有烟品都 get out。我拒烟，我骄傲。
家己电台家己主持咧。大家好，我是郭文铁，我伫台北广播电台。
谁当家？
谁当家？你当家？
谁当家？
谁当家？
谁当家？我当家。你当家？我当家。到底谁当家？你来当家。
Back to Residence Messenger. Our guest today is military writer, historian, expert, especially on modern Taiwan's military history, Samuel Hui. Sam, let's talk about the 823炮战, the Second Taiwan Strait Crisis. Began on August 23rd, 1958. Who fired the first shot?
I think the Communist China.
Why did they do that?
I think they want to. That's a very complicated story because at that time the relationship between Communist China and the Soviet Union are getting better, and Communist China they want to say right now we don't listen to Khrushchev anymore because Stalin is dead already, and we don't give any shit about about Khrushchev. So we want to be the leader of the communist war, and we are going to be the beacon of the revolution. So they want to show, and they also want to see how well the Soviet Union support them if they are attacked by America, because so they fire Taiwan first to see the reaction of United States, Soviet Union, and Taiwan. If they know the U.S. is willing to provide more assistance to Taiwan, then Soviet Union is willing to provide to Communist China. They might think about getting separate from the Soviet Union. They don't. If Soviet Union didn't show strong enough will to defend their communist ally, then they say, I'm not going standing with Soviet Union anymore. I will do my own revolution. Yeah.
Was the government in Taipei prepared for this?
I don't think so, because 3 deputy commanders got killed that day.
The first day?
Yeah, first day. I think they are Ji Xinwen, Zhao Jiaxiang, and Zhang Ji. 3 of them, they were killed. They were still eating their dinner in a restaurant, and the shell came and they pound. Yeah.
What about the people in Taipei or in Taiwan? Were they prepared for this kind of battle? And the sacrifices you'd have to make?
They were always told that one day Chiang Kai-shek will lead them to launch a counterattack against mainland China. But I don't think at that moment they know that the communists are going to launch a artillery warfare against offshore island. Yeah, I don't think.
Who were the soldiers from the ROC side who were stationed on Jinmen? Were these still mostly people who had come from China in 1949? Or were they mostly people who were born here in Taiwan, grew up here in Taiwan?
I think half and half. I think by that time, because they have conscription already in Taiwan, so many of those soldiers, they are actually Taiwanese. But I think most of those senior commanders and also the NCO, those older generation, I think they are still mainlanders, and they work pretty well during the battle. They work very hard. They work together to fight against the common enemy, the communist China. Because many of the mainlanders, they still have their families over there, and they will be persecuted by the communist China. So they want to fight back. And for the Taiwanese soldiers, they know that if they don't defend Cuba, next time the communists will attack Taiwan, and their family will be dangerous. So that's why they join together to defend ROC.
Were the people here in Taiwan, though, were they asked to donate money or eat less food so the soldiers could have more supplies? How did it affect people here in Taiwan?
Of course, people. I think the morale in Taiwan was very high at that time because the Republic of China Air Force, as I said, they always achieve victory when they counter communist MiGs. Even so, MiG-17 of the POA Air Force, they are superior than Taiwan's F-86 Sabre. But I think our pilots, they got a better scale in air combat because they were all trained by the American. And many of their instructors were just veterans of Korean War, so they know how to fight the dogfight against the MiGs. And also American, they support the Sidewinder air-to-air missile. I think that's the first victory. First air-to-air missile victory was achieved by ROC Air Force during the 823period. I think it was taking place on September 24th, 1948, 924空战. That's the first air-to-air missile victory, by the entire world. It was achieved by Taiwan.
How significant was the U.S. role during the 823炮战?
As I said, it was very important because American, they just not provide Sidewinder. They also I think that's called there was a Marine fighter squadron called VMF-323, Death Rattler. Their nickname, just like Flying Tigers, their nickname is Death Rattlers. They came to Taiwan. They teach the 11th Fighter Group in Hsinchu how to use the Sidewinder seeking missile, so they can win the battle. And also on the ground, the U.S. support 8-inch gun. I think they also made a very they fired the Xiamen train station, and the people in mainland, they say, did Taiwan use the tactical nuclear weapon? When they use the 8-inch gun fire, because that's huge destruction. People in China, they think, Taiwan was using nuclear weapon.
But we're sure they weren't, right?
They weren't, of course not. But I think Eisenhower, he stand firmly with Taiwan. He said that if communist China doesn't quit, he may consider about using the tactical nuclear missile. Actually, there were some generals like Curtis LeMay or Lawrence Couters. They want to use a tactical nuclear weapon against airport and ports in Xiamen. But Eisenhower said, no, we don't want to escalate the conflict. We still want to we want to cool it down. So he didn't give permission to use tactical nuclear weapon. But still, I think Sidewinder missile and the 80-inch gun, and also the American, they also provide escort to Taiwan's supply ships like LST. They really work out very well, and it also shows the determination of U.S. government to protect Taiwan from communist aggression. So, and in contrast, Soviet Union, they didn't provide this kind of support to Beijing. So that became a reason why they got in trouble with each other in 1969.
You mentioned the role of Americans with training, such as with the Sidewinder missile, with some of the escort. During this period, did it cause an increase in the number of American soldiers based here in Taiwan?
Of course, they sent more like fighter bomber squadron to Taiwan because I think under the Sino-American Mutual Defense Treaty, the ROC Air Force are in charge of the air battle over China coast, and the U.S. Air Force, Navy, and the Marine, they are in charge of the Taiwan. They are responsible for protecting Taiwan's airspace, while our ROC Force fought over the mainland China, the airspace over mainland China, and that's why there was a Davis Land, because that's the commander of the 13th Task Force, Benjamin Davis. He was also a very famous. He is an African American fighter pilot. Do you know Tuskegee Airman? During World War II, he was a very ace. He shot down many Luftwaffe fighters. So when he came to Taiwan, he doesn't want American pilots to fly over to mainland China to get trouble.
So he draws a line in the middle of the Taiwan Strait.
Yeah, that's how it came. Yeah.
The Davis Line.
Davis Line, yeah. I think 1957 something. Like that.
Well, one of the reasons why I asked if it caused an increase in the number of American soldiers in Taiwan is some of our listeners may know that very recently, United States Senator not Ted Cruz, but his colleague from Texas, John Cornyn, he sent a tweet saying there's 30,000 American. The people said, he took it from Wikipedia, which showed that at some point during the period when there was a bilateral mutual defense treaty, there was 30,000. When was that 30,000 here in Taiwan? Was it around the time of the second Taiwan Strait crisis or later on?
I think there may be even more than 30,000 in Taiwan during the
second Taiwan Strait crisis.
I think so. Yeah, I didn't do the research, but maybe you can do it later. But right now, as I heard from information from Pentagon, it's maybe 30 something. I think somebody they gave up the information because as you say, the senator, he made a mistake.
Somebody he took that tweet down right away.
Yeah, somebody they want to correct him, say maybe 30 something. I think there are 30
now.
Yeah, maybe 30
but not 30,000.
No.
But you said during the battle, the second Taiwan Strait crisis, probably more than 30,000.
Yeah, I think probably more, because they even rotate. They have the rotation of the different squadron to Taiwan. And sometimes they were even tactical nuclear warhead in Tainan. That's for sure. Yeah, and they were also later on in I think during Vietnam War, because Taiwan was asked by the United States to provide the F-5 fighter to South Vietnamese Air Force. So the United States deployed 2 squadron of F-4 Phantom were able to launch nuclear warhead. Yeah.
What was the result of the battle?
You mean the
823 炮战?
Of course, eventually the Communist China they quit. If they win, they will take over Jinmen for sure. But later on, they want to save their face, so they lie to people. They say actually we have talked to Chiang Kai-shek, because Chiang Kai-shek he want to keep Jinmen, because because under the ROC Constitution, Jinmen is still part of Fujian province instead of Taiwan. So if having Taiwan controlling Kinmen, it means Taiwan, China are still one China. So the communists, Beijing says that we have get a mutual point. We don't want Taiwan to be separate from China by the United States. So we are both win. Taiwan, Beijing both win against the American conspiracy to separate Taiwan from China. But we all know that's not true. That's bullshit.
Afterwards, for many years, China and Taiwan China and Jinmen exchanged artillery on alternate days.
That's for safe.
Why did they do that?
Face saving too, because they don't want to admit their defeat. They say, okay, we suit you. I think Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And for Taiwan, we also want to save our face, so we fire them back at Tuesday. 是什么？单打双不打 We call that 单就是135嘛。那我不知道台湾是不是这样。I don't understand. I don't know if Taiwan did the same thing, but yeah, they were exchange of artillery fire. Yes.
Did they also agree where they would shoot at as well to avoid accidents?
Sometimes maybe the frontline commanders they have to say, okay, we don't really want to kill your people, so let's make some maybe I will fight here.
Yeah, so they would meet up maybe secretly
I don't think
and
they
talk
really
about
met.
it.
Maybe they send some people. I don't know. I don't really think so. They actually met each other. Yeah.
And a lot of the soldiers from the ROC side, where did they go? Maybe did they like Jinmen and decide to stay on Jinmen and make their lives in Jinmen, or did they come back and make the rest of their lives in Taiwan?
Some of them they stay in Jinmen, like those special force veterans I interview, because they always we call them 水鬼. They always launch espionage against mainland China. Even after the 823炮战, they will go to mainland China and they cut the ear or the tongue of the communist soldier and get it back. And later on, they don't do that anymore. Like after 80s, they just throw the cigarette, take my cigarette and go back. And when the communist 水鬼, they come here, we also throw our cigarettes. You just take each other's cigarettes, so we don't have to cut.
Yeah, cutting off the ears not so humane.
Yeah. So later on, they become that. Just like what you say, they don't. Later on, they become things get cooled down, and they don't do killing each other. But mainly for those special operations, those special force veterans, they rather stay in Kinmen, because I don't think they can live like normal people anymore. Because if they come to Taiwan, they were used to killing people, just like those Vietnam War veterans in the United States. I think they may have PTSD. So some of them might stay in Kinmen.
Because it's a more peaceful life there?
Maybe, so they don't get in touch with people so often. Maybe they will get some trouble. I don't know, but that's what I think. But most people they got back. As I say, many of them are conscript soldiers, so they just rotate back to Taiwan. Yeah. I don't think many of them really stay in Kinmen, because as you say, later on, I think under the agreement between United States and Chiang Kai-shek, they decreased the number of soldiers in Kinmen and Mazu. They got decreased. Yeah.
Now there are museums and things to see in Jinmen related to the 823炮战, but there's things to see here in Taipei as well, because there's a 823炮战纪念公园 near the Yuanshan Fan Dian. What's in that park for people to see?
In Taipei?
Yeah.
The one, I think there was a F-86 fighter and a lot of weapons they got left from doing the straight crisis. And also there are 823公园 all around Taiwan, even one in Taichung. I went there too. So.
And what's in all the other parks around?
I think same thing, just maybe fighter jet. But sometimes the one in Taichung, they didn't really show. They don't really show the actual fighter used during the straight crisis. Instead, they show they display the fighter like F5, which Taiwan get in 60s and 70s.
So isn't that a historical inaccuracy?
That take place a lot in Taiwan, China. Like when you go to mainland China, you go to see World War II museum. They show you some fighter from 60s, like even jet fighter. So that's a very. I don't like that.
We're almost out of time, Sam. But for people who want to learn more about this period of military history, where else could they visit in Taipei?
In Taipei or Taiwan?
In Taipei.
Taipei, 军事馆, the Armed Force Museum in Taipei, near Ximending. But I think they are going to create a bigger National Army Museum. I think around this place near 国防部, they will have a 国军的那个军事馆. I think they will open in near future. I think maybe you can wait for that day to come. But right now, I think the best place to go is Armed Force Museum in Taipei. Even so, they don't really focus a lot on straight crisis. They focus more on World War II history. Yeah, because after the ROC came to Taiwan, all of those are small battles.
Like compared to World War II, compared to World War II, but relevant to Taiwan's history, they are crucial.
Yeah, but as you can see, there's really no big skirmish, because even 823, except 古宁头 is a real ground battles, but 823 was actually artillery fire, so it didn't. It's not that big.
And what about if somebody wanted to see something that represents the U.S. military presence that used to exist in Taipei, what could people see?
In Taipei, if you say Taichung, there's a 美军足迹馆 a American Armed Force Museum in CCK Air Force Base 清泉岗基地里有一个专门介绍美军的东西。但台北 I don't think if you want to see, maybe you can go to see the 那个宿舍，就是 there was something in 阳明山 they show some American dorm over there. But I don't. They didn't make it into museum, right? If I'm mayor of Taipei, I might consider about making them into a museum.
Yeah, well, we should pass that recommendation on to the mayor.
Yeah.
Well, Sam, thank you so much for being our guest today. Very timely to talk about the 823炮战 and its importance to Taipei and Taiwan. Even now in 2021. Well, thanks for being our guest, Sam.
There are still too many stories for me to tell, but in just a short period of time.
Okay. Well, we'll have you on again in the future.
Yeah, of course. Sure.
Thank you, Sam. You've been listening to Residence Messenger on Taipei Broadcasting Station. Have a great weekend.